Was already Villain Club here, the VC. Oh yeah, coming back at you with another video. Anything and everything, that's off the table. Alright, you can find me here on Rumble, or you can find me on YouTube, or you can find me on YouTube, or you can find me on Rumble. Either way, I'm here to play and bring some common sense to things, you know? I'm trying to show you guys the other side of things that you don't really see sometimes when you're watching your typical media and news and all that stuff, you know, and really kind of show you how things truly are. And you know, I mean, even I myself have come a long way in terms of seeing things for what it truly is versus what it was or what they made it out to be. You know what I'm saying? Well, let me dig into this. All right, so let's talk about everything that's going on. All right, I think one day I'll talk about tariffs in general, just not today. Maybe closer to the weekend I might do that, and my understanding of the tariffs and what I think about it. And I'm for it, by the way, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to the weekend. Let's talk about, again, the lies, the deceitfulness, the flip-flopping, everything about Democrats that are terrible, right? All they care about is really about themselves, right? Their selfishness, right? I mean, look at the headlines, you know, Gavin Newsom's talking some sort of bullshit, right? We'll look into that, right? Newsom blames Trump for his California failures. I mean, there's 4 years where Trump wasn't in office, right? He got in office towards the end of Trump's first term. So how can you blame Trump, right? Newsom lied to the American public about Biden's level of fitness. Remember how he used to always say when he was questioned about Biden and how he was really like the surrogate, right? You know, are you kidding me? Oh man, he could run a gamut. Oh man, I mean, he's a, you know, he speaks, you know, as if he's running a clinic, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, he's on his toes all the time, and he could dance circles around people. He'll say shit like that, right? So before we get to all that, let's look at AOC, all right? I know that people like what they see because, you know, she's kind of a younger representation of the Democrats. Kind of like a Chihuahua to me, you know, just that yapping, you know, Chihuahua that kind of bites at your leg and you kind of kick it away, but it keeps nipping at your leg. And so, you know, let's take a look at what is going on over here. AOC flies first class to Bernie Sanders fight oligarchy rally, right? Because they claim that Republicans are all about the oligarchy, right? Which is the, you know, upper class, rich people type stuff, right? Which is clearly what Democrats are. They're all about themselves, the elites. I mean, look at Kamala when she was running for president, all the celebrities that she paid for to come out to endorse her, right? And talk about oligarchy, man. All those Democrats, even when you look at Hollywood in itself and celebrities in general, right? They're all typically Democrat. All these elite people are Democrat. So it's funny how it's contradictory that they're trying to fight the oligarchy when they are the oligarchy, right? It's just funny how that is. So let's take a look at this.
Socialist Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was spotted flying first class to a Bernie Sanders rally last month, sparking criticism over what some are calling political hypocrisy.
Yeah.
A passenger snapped a photo of the New York Congresswoman seated in JetBlue's first-class cabin on Flight 511 from JFK to Las Vegas on March 19th, the day before she took the stage at a fighting oligarchy event with Senator Bernie Sanders. The flyer who took the photo claimed AOC ignored comments from voters and quipped that she's fighting the system one first-class mimosa at a time. According to JetBlue's website, a first-class seat on that route costs upward of $1,100.
$1,100, holy
The critics
shit.
slammed the Congresswoman's luxury travel choice, noting her vocal support for climate change action and income equality. First-class seats typically carry a larger carbon footprint due to their space and weight. Representative Nicole Maliotakis of New York said, "Socialists are hypocrites. I'm surprised she didn't take a private jet like most of her comrades." State Conservative Party Chair Gerard Kasser called it rich in hypocrisy. AOC's office declined to comment. At the rallies in North Las Vegas and Arizona State University, Ocasio-Cortez urged Democrats to fight for the working class and criticized her own party.
They drove away the working class, right? I mean, look at the election. Look at the unions they drove away, right? They drove away the working class. They showed who they really supported and who they wanted to support more than anything, right? It wasn't the working class, that's for sure. They're only doing this now after the fact, but during the election they weren't.
For failing to stand up to Republicans. She also blasted Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer for supporting a GOP-backed funding bill, calling it a betrayal. With a shakeup underway in Washington, led by President Trump and government efficiency chief Elon Musk, some on the left are now pushing for AOC to challenge Schumer in a 2028 primary. For more stories, just...
So yeah, it's funny how hypocrisy and, the contradictory sort of things that they are messaging and conveying and all that stuff. And is it surprising? No, it's not surprising, right? So just saying. Let me see here. Let's bring it back to here. I'm going to close off that window. But yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. And then when you see the corruption and things that are going on, right? Like, for example, the California homeless funds facing fraud investigation now, right? It's going to find out nothing's been fixed in LA. As an example, I mean, California as a whole, but focusing in LA, now it's facing a fraud investigation from the feds, which is good because it's all just... all these things that Democrats are doing is just money grabbing to pocket for themselves. Like, when you look at it, how do they be a common politician to becoming rich in a sense? Because they sift through these funds, right? And that's why there's nothing to show for when it comes to the homeless, the high-speed rail, and all that stuff, right? So let's take a look at this.
Okay. I used to think I was never meant to be beautiful. You work within my budget.
A federal task force has been formed to investigate possible fraud and corruption involving homelessness funds across Southern California. It's being led by the brand new U.S. Attorney, Bill Asaley. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf spoke to Asaley today. He's live for us in downtown L.A. Matthew.
Well, Alex, a lot of people wonder about all of that money and if it's being spent the way it's supposed to be. Well, we could have some answers here pretty soon. The most visible crisis across California, now the target of a federal investigation.
We will investigate and look at the facts and determine whether any laws were broken.
Of course,
newly sworn in U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announcing what he calls a homelessness fraud and corruption task force, looking into billions of dollars of homeless funding spent across Southern California and possible fraud, abuse, and corruption.
Of course.
Despite all the money spent and the audits conducted, there's billions of dollars unaccounted for. Local and state officials cannot give us answers.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down about $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services.
So one more quick question.
As a result, last week, LA County voted to stop funding LAHSA, leading to the resignation of CEO Dr. Valisa Adams-Kellum. How does $2 billion just go missing?
It doesn't, and we're going to find out where it is.
Yeah, ask Gavin Newsom. Where's $24 billion spent on homeless? Where did that go missing, right? Because they said there's been no accounting, there's no tracking of how it was worked and spent, no accountability. I mean, that's it. It goes quiet, right? The conversation goes quiet. Come on, man. I mean, come on. We got to really dig deep here down and go down that rabbit hole and find out where all this money is at. I'm telling you, it's the Democrats' corruption. They're taking that money.
The number of homeless on the streets is increasing with every dollar we spend.
Santa Monica business owner John Alley supports the new task force.
It's hidden money and it's paybacks. I believe people will end up.
I like the task force. I just don't like how LA decided to sidestep the original authority to form a new committee to oversee the homeless program. It's almost like moving money from one sort of organization to another, which to me in the end amounts to nothing. You know, so, but the Fed's coming in, I think it's a good idea to really dig at California corruption. And it's a good place to start, LA.
Up in jail.
Along with LA County, the task force will investigate Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. There are about 75,000 homeless people in LA County compared to about 20,000 in the others combined.
We're going to have the best prosecutors, the best agents on this.
LA Mayor Karen Bass responding, telling Fox 11, our focus is on outcomes and saving lives. Last year, Los Angeles bucked national increases with a 10% decrease in street homelessness.
Where's that arbitrary number come from?
California Governor Gavin Newsom's office says we share the federal administration's goal of ensuring taxpayer funds are being used effectively to get people off our streets.
Yeah, right.
It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a public trust crisis. And and I think we deserve answers.
He says he's going to use any and all tools, including search warrants. It sounds like all this is going to start very soon. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Get to the bottom of this shit.
Yeah, Matthew, regular viewers of our show may recognize Bill Asaley. He was just in the assembly with the Republicans, where he made news a lot, but didn't have almost any power. He was part of the super minority. Now President Trump has appointed him, and he's got some real power now.
Yeah, definitely. We were actually asking him today about his relationship with President Trump. He said he met him when President Trump was here to look at the fires. Actually, President Trump asked for his business card. So it sounds like they're definitely trying to start some sort of working relationship right now.
Yeah, he's been very pro-Trump, and I think the president likes that, and he certainly rewarded him with a very big job.
Oh, when they dig into it, they're going to see the fraud, all right? They're definitely going to see it. It's going to be found, you know, because... like, how can you not have answers or improvement to anything going on in California, but all this money is spent? So yeah, I can't wait to see the results of that. All right, and so and that leads to this bullshitter here, right? That they just mentioned that news brief. All right, let's take a look at. Economic expert laughs off Gavin Newsom's trade partnership proposal. Let them. Because he was the one that kind of stepped out and said, hey, world, you should give us a special deal because we're California, all right? We're not like the rest of the United States. We're California. That type of thing.
And we're a small town.
Bullshit. When California's falling apart.
Republican Senator John Kennedy says President Trump owns this economy. Roll it.
It's been painful, but it may turn out well. It may not. If it doesn't turn out well, I think the president will recalibrate.
Do you think it's Donald Trump's economy now?
Oh, I think it is. There's no question. I think once he decided to add the tariffs, clearly, I mean, he will be held responsible, as he should, whether it turns out good or it turns out badly.
Economist E.J. Antoni joins me now. E.J., do you think that President Trump should have gone first for extending tax cuts and then done tariffs?
Oh, Stu, that's a great question. You know, I liken it to the fact that the middle class was drowning in the Biden economy, and it's like we threw an anchor before building them a boat. You know, the first thing I think
I do want to have this conversation, though, all right, but I want to talk about Gavin Newsom, though, because he's gruesome Newsom. Let's see here. Man. Democrat governor revolt against Trump's tariffs. All right, we'll skip this news piece. I think this is going to be towards my tariff piece. All right, let's go here. Let's see what this piece of shit snake oil salesman was saying here.
They wasted $2.5 billion, and we still don't know what happened to a large majority of that money. In terms of disclosure...
Isn't that a commonality of things, right? All this money spent, but don't know where the money went. The $2.5 billion when it comes to Kamala's failure to be elected, the homeless program, the high-speed rail. I mean, think about it. All this stuff, but yet no one knows what happened to the money. I mean, it's crazy.
Super PACs don't have to be as transparent as campaigns do, but we do know that they wasted millions of dollars on celebrities, on oligarchs like Oprah and Beyonce and Cardi B and all of them, and then lied about it. And frankly, a lot of the revelations that came out in Fight, I've been saying for months actually. So I feel like the authors kind of repackaged a lot of what I said. And one thing that they didn't highlight was the role of Congressman James Clyburn. It wasn't just Kamala Harris pushing for the endorsement on the same day. Congressman Clyburn played a pivotal role in pushing Biden to that point, because he initially wanted to just wallow. He wanted to bask in the glory of having stepped down. He wanted to be seen as a patriotic statesman for the entire week. But Kamala Harris and James Clyburn, who insisted that he endorsed Kamala Harris in short order, changed the trajectory that Biden initially wanted.
We had former mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, on Prime recently. He was talking about the Democrats' deep bench, that he's not worried about them putting forward someone who's going to be really successful in the next presidential election. What is that deep bench? Who do you believe is most likely to get that support going forward in the next presidential run?
With all due respect, I find it very comical.
This new book claims Harris begged Biden for backing. Interesting
thing to say, given that there's a flaw in every single one of the candidates they consider qualified. I've been in touch with Newsom's team for a number of years now. He reached out in 2022 asking for my support. And if anyone asks for my support and you're based in California, I'm assuming you're running for president. So this has been a long time goal of his. I was a national fundraiser. So anyone reaching out to me across the country, I'm assuming has his eyes set on the White House, because I'm a national fundraiser and I live in a battleground state of Pennsylvania. Gavin Newsom is using his podcast and this new platform to position himself in the middle. But we have to remember that California is on the frontier of woke ideology, of extreme liberal policies, ideas that push me out of the party. I've been asking the party to moderate itself for half a decade. But when I raised criticisms, people like AOC would try to cancel me online. And so these sort of tactics, there's no room for dissension. You have to follow the party line or else you're excommunicated.
Yeah, tell me more about this.
Same thing happened with Eric Adams when he wasn't following along the party line. In a sense that they sent the FBI to raid him, right? They shunned her. Gavin Newsom trying to play down the middle, but it's all just being pragmatic, right? He's just trying to play to the tune of what he thinks he's going for the voters. But we all know that, as Kamala would say, it's their values. They hold true to their values. And Gavin is just like everybody else. He's going to hold true to those progressive liberal values that he's been doing since his days in San Francisco. All right? So none of that's going to change. He's just being a snake oil salesman, lying to everybody's face, trying to act like he's playing to the middle. But he's not going to do nothing about it. Just look at what he said about the transgender, how it's unfair for women's sports with transgender, but yet he's not going to do anything about it. He could easily just say something, pass a law in California, but he's not going to do that, right? So it's just all lies, everything, and money grabbing, lies, money grabbing, all Democrat corruption.
Do you feel that Gavin Newsom is trying to fix his wokeness? We're seeing a media blitz,
he's not
seeing
his
podcast, and sort of a shift towards center. Let's take a listen together to what he said on Bill
It's all just a play. It's just a play.
These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be.
Okay, Lindy, help us break through the noise here. What are we seeing right now from Gavin Newsom? What is the game plan?
Natasha, I have to say that everything that we just heard from him makes me a little bit ill, to be honest, because I was one of the few people who had the guts to buck the party and urge Biden to step aside due to his cognitive decline. But Gavin Newsom was on the front lines of defending Biden. He wasn't just a defender and champion of Biden. He was the strongest. He debated DeSantis on the national stage. He went out of his way to, frankly, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He lied to the American people about the fitness of the president.
Right.
He went out there again and again and said he was fine. Meanwhile, people like me were punished for telling the truth, for basically reflecting reality, for having the guts to say the emperor has no clothes. So I am not buying this, whatever this is, this new public relations project that he's undergoing. And frankly, what happened with the California fires and the way that he handled that mom, I don't know if you saw the viral clip, the very nonchalant way that he handled this disaster that impacted millions of people in his state should disqualify him. He should not be running for president. He should be doing everything he can to rejuvenate his own state.
All right, Lindy, we've been looking at the images on the screen here.
What's happening?
Hands-off protests that are happening across the country.
Before we do the hands-off protest, let's look for the Gavin Newsom clip. It was actually pretty funny how he was on the phone with Biden. And then they was like, all right, they put him on the phone, Oh, I don't have reception right now. What a joke. All right, it was so funny. Gavin Newsom with the fire victim mom. All right. Let's see. Yeah, that's one right here. It was so funny. Confronted by a fire victim. So funny. Got to play this thing again. It was so funny. Let's try it. Let's do it.
Let's go back out now to more coverage live from Fox 11 Los Angeles. They do such a great job of updating their community on what is going on in real time.
But again, this is in the Granada Hills area.
Okay. In the meantime, local mother and lawyer from the Palisades confronts Governor Gavin Newsom over wildfire recovery efforts.
Sky News' Martha Kellner first reported on Rachel Darvish, who urged Newsom to take action, saying her daughter's school was destroyed, and she approached Governor Newsom as he was about to enter an SUV. Watch this.
Gavin Newsom? That's the governor. That's the governor. Governor, I live here, governor. That was my daughter's school, governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is being criticised by some for water mismanagement as hydrants ran dry while fires multiplied.
So I have to get self-service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing everything.
Fill the hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
Emotions running high and understandably.
Pretty funny stuff. I'm literally on the phone. Oh no, we don't have cell reception right now. Pretty funny. Let me try this.
Then
clip.
Rachel spots a face she recognises.
Is that Gavin Newsom? That's the governor. That's the governor. Governor, I live here, governor. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
So I have to get self-service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
So how can you be literally on the phone to where there's no cell service now?
I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids, losing the school.
Yeah, so he lied to their face. All right, so.
Is this a good strategy for the Democrats as they work to pick back up here? And do you think this is just an echo chamber? Aren't these all people who just did not vote for Trump anyways?
Right, it's giving Women's March, which actually turned out to be a catastrophe. I don't know if you remember, but there was huge internal dissensions and the organization basically fell apart. These marches they're a good visual, but what does it actually do? They don't have any power in the House and the Senate, and that's what actually matters. So yes, he had a good showing this previous Tuesday, but we will see what happens. I'm a little nervous about just the fallout from the tariffs. We'll see what happens in the next 30 to 60 days, and if other countries can come to the table and we can all get to 0 tariffs. But I think that's actually the game changer, not these shenanigans on the streets, but what actually happens in the markets to the economy and to inflation. These are the major determinants of what's going to happen in the midterms in 2026.
Okay, and Lindy, I know your book Unburdened will be coming out very shortly. It is an expose. We will be looking for it, and we want to have you back on the show to talk about it. Lindy Lee, thank you so much for your time
by what has been.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Pretty hot, if you ask me. Oh, man, it's funny shit. Look at this here. Blames California. Let's look at this one here. All right, last piece here. So I don't know. It's just all
Snap
this
your W-2
headlines.
and file your
I had to
taxes
bring it up.
100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. File free now. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. Click for eligibility.
This is what Ivy League universities can get into with a 3.6 GPA.
Let the gaslighting begin. How Governor Gavin Newsom, California Democrats, and the liberal media are trying to blame Donald Trump for the problems they've created in California. Coming up, we've got a whole tick list of the dishonesty that we're seeing from the other side.
Yeah, let's see what is being talked about. Carter Mayo, he's from San Diego. Believe it or not, all right, he represents the American class, right? Gay politician, Republican, right? It's unusual, but that's what it is, and that's what he is, which is not usually representative of Republicans, right? Typically, so that tells you something.
I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state representative representing District 75 in the state assembly. Look, we know that the liberal media has been lying for years to Californians, to Americans, with dishonest coverage. They're trying to protect liberal politicians from voter anger over the problems that those same politicians have created. But they are now trying to pin all of California problems on Donald Trump. And just in the last week, we've seen some pretty heinously dishonest stories being spun from the liberal media. And I want to cover 3 of them. Because what they're doing with these stories, they're literally trying to protect Democrat politicians for the problems they have created. The first story I want to go with is a story about Medicaid. The Democrats nationwide are trying to claim that Donald Trump is going after poor people's health insurance. Medicaid is a national program that covers poor people when they can't afford health coverage. Medicaid kicks in. It's a welfare program. It also covers a variety of people with special healthcare needs, the elderly, people who are disabled, young children. These programs, everyone supports. We want a health safety net in this country. Democrats, again, are claiming Trump has cut Medicaid programs, but not a single penny has been cut from Medicaid programs by the Trump administration, not a single penny. And when it comes to benefits, there is absolutely no intention by Trump to cut benefits in Medi-Cal. What he has said is he's going to Medicaid. He's going after the waste, fraud, and abuse. He wants to make sure that
after waste, fraud, and abuse, and really that's what it is, right? When you look at the waste, fraud, and abuse with Social Security and Medicaid, one, for example, why are they being sent supposedly to people that are like 120 years old, 150 years old, 200 years old, when obviously they're not living to be receiving it on that end? So something's up with that on the Social Security side of things, right? And then you look at Medicaid. Well, you look at California, for example, they're giving it to illegals. And if we're paying money into it and illegals are not putting money into the system, how are we supposed to benefit from it when it's our time to receive Medicaid, as you know, towards the end of our careers and living life in retirement, right? So that's what that's all about. So he's not going after and cutting those programs in itself.
And for legitimate healthcare expenses for poor people. And that's something that all Americans agree with. We don't want fraud. We don't want waste. Every dollar that's wasted or fraudulently given out is a dollar less for someone who deserves to have health coverage. Well, the reason why the Democrats have kicked into high gear on this, particularly in California, is that they've got their own little scandal brewing. And that is they've given out free healthcare coverage at taxpayer expense through our Medicaid program, which is called Medi-Cal in the state of California, to illegal immigrants.
Yep.
So we're giving free healthcare coverage to illegal immigrants in California. This started about 2 years ago. And we're talking $10 billion of costs. Newsom and the Democrats lied to the public. They said, oh, it's not going to cost very much. It may be $6 billion, but most of that's going to be reimbursed from the federal government because these are asylum-seeking refugees. He was a liar. He is a liar. Newsom completely misrepresented the program, and now we have a $10 billion cost that you, the taxpayer, have to bear. And Medi-Cal has run out of money. They're insolvent, financially insolvent. They can't pay doctors. They can't pay nurses. They can't pay healthcare providers. So Newsom has had to rush a
I'll put words in his mouth right here, because what they are trying to do is they're trying to spend, Newsom that is, trying to spend this program and then rely on the federal government to kind of fill it back up, back end of it, saying, oh, you're going to pay us anyway, so we're paying out, and then the federal government is going to come back and fill it back up again. And it sounds good, but when Trump said, no, we're not going to do that shit, where's the money going to come from now, right, after the money's spent? Because Newsom's expecting money from the federal government to kind of backfill it, and it's not going to happen.
$0.2 billion emergency loan to prop up the program. At the same time, we are...
So, yeah, what he just mentioned is that Gavin Newsom had to borrow $10 billion just to maintain currently what's happening with Medi-Cal. And I don't know where the hell he's borrowing that money from, but they allowed it. The California government allowed it.
They're seeing overwhelming evidence that the state of California, either through ignorance or willful misconduct,
all of it,
put in for reimbursement to the federal government for illegal immigrant coverage and was rejected. That's why there's this big shortfall. And we believe that there are some costs that
expecting the government to backfill
they actually got the federal government under the Biden administration to pay that will likely have to be reimbursed back to the federal treasury. What does the media say in California? Instead of covering the Medi-Cal financial collapse and the fact that illegal immigration has caused this program to be insolvent, pushed it into insolvency by adding all these illegal immigrants into the program. Instead of covering that story and holding Democrats accountable for putting poor people's health insurance at risk in our state, this is what they say. California has big plans for improving mental health, but Medicaid cuts could upend them. This story from Cal Matters, a liberal blog, talks about how Governor Newsom has made sweeping changes to the behavioral health system, pouring billions of dollars into new services and support programs. But the state's ambitious plans face looming threat: the proposed Trump federal spending cuts. No. The cuts are proposed at the federal level to waste, fraud, and abuse. The only shortfalls we have in the state of California are because we've diverted dollars in Medi-Cal and the state general fund budget for healthcare to illegal immigrants. We could cover all of these programs for mental health, which would go a long way to not only helping citizens, but dealing with our homelessness crisis, which is largely driven by mental health problems, if Gavin Newsom simply took care of his own citizens first. That's the truth. Not this narrative driving dishonesty from a liberal blog. And of course, this is then cascaded across the state of California. Cal Matters has a partnership with the newspapers across the state. Their stories are reprinted in those rags. It's a whole pipeline of misinformation that's put out. But no, instead of saying Gavin Newsom should be dealing with our mental health crisis, but instead he's raided money that could go to that, and instead has given it to illegal immigrants, putting the entire system on the brink of financial collapse. Instead of covering that, they spin the tale that it's all Donald Trump's fault.
I think I just won my taxes.
Oh yeah?
I just switched from TurboTax to H&R Block. It was so easy.
You mean I don't have to go back through all this to switch?
Nope.
Here's another story. Doge cuts shut down San Diego County's wastewater testing system. Now, when you see a headline like that, you immediately think, well, hell, like we need to make sure we have clean water. If we're not monitoring like the wastewater system, we could all, have an environmental collapse. This is dangerous.
That's a good thing, actually.
Hold on a second. Let's read the fine print, shall we? The fine print is not that our wastewater system monitoring is going to be canceled. No, the fine print is that a specific tiny study that had to deal with, let me spell it out, because if I say the word.
Let's go see what else you got.
Oh, this one is even worse. So you may have seen some of the coverage. Students are being rounded up in the middle of the night and deported by Donald Trump in California. Oh my goodness, it's so terrible. These poor students. Here's the coverage from KTLA.
In other news, the Trump administration has canceled several international student visas all across the country, including right here on California campuses. Students at UCLA and UC San Diego, UC Irvine, and Stanford all being affected by this. UCLA, in fact, the faculty there says at least 6 current international students have had their visas revoked.
And so far, the federal government has given no explanation.
Okay, so it starts out with, these students are having their visas revoked.
We covered that yesterday. All right, so they're getting revoked because if they were participating in these sort of things that were happening, and it comes to terrorist organizations of Hamas and Free Gaza and all this bullshit, right? Then, you're a guest. So if you're a guest, well, your guest status has been revoked. That's all it is. Because you can't just have your cake and eat it too and just act like you can do whatever you want in this country and not show for anything. So, it's just rightfully taken away. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. In any other country, you can't get away with shit like that. But when you do that here, now you think you can get away with it? No. It should be all rules and laws apply. And if you break the laws and rules, well, shit, your guest status is revoked. Get the fuck out of here. It's just simple as that. So anyhow, that's typical Democrats, right? They don't like to take responsibility. They like to blame everybody else and lie through their shit. They are corrupt. Take all the money, don't know where to spend it, where they spent it, and have no answers. So then when, Doge is coming in or Republicans are coming in to try to get to the bottom of it, all of a sudden, they're trying to flip the script, and I don't know, it's all kinds of bullshit, all right? And that's all I'm just trying to show you guys is that, look at it. Democrats are just so bad, right? And every day, they're proven to show themselves even worse than what they truly are. And it's sad. But they're not for you. They're not for the working class. They're not for anybody but themselves. The elites, the oligarchies, the celebrities. They think they're all above us. And so, keep that in mind when you see these Democrats going around trying to act like they're for you when they really are not. Especially when it comes election time, and look at the bills and laws that are being passed. They're always about taxing, right? Taxing bonds. It's like, dude, they're going to nickel and dime you for every little thing there is. So let's think about it. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. Comment down below, let me know what you think. Rumble, YouTube. You can find me on both. And other than that, thank you. I'll see you next one.